hello, hello. Welcome everyone to the Founders Check-in for September. I cannot believe that we are in September. I am completely excited about that reality because I love the fall. I just feel like it's newness and Christmas and all that good stuff. So if you're one of the people like me who likes to go back to school shopping, even if you don't have kids, then we're friends. So anyway, welcome to the Founders Check-in for September. Our title this month is Scaling Your SMBs Through the Power of Customer Engagement. So if you registered for this Founders Check-in, and then you're in the right place. So, and if you happen to have some friends that you think could really value from this, bring them in, tell them to register and jump on board. We're going to be here for a good hour talking about how to engage your customers in order to increase your revenue so that you can scale. So we have a real exciting guest here this month, right? We've got Sheryl Mays, who I am just so excited about having. But my name is Kerry-Ann Powell. For those of you who are new to the Founders Check-in, I am the founder of Trafalgar Strategies. I am also a business strategist. Founder of Trafalgar Strategies, if you do not know, is a business consulting firm for small and medium-sized companies. And we recognize that running a business can sometimes feel like a chaotic tornado. And so we help business owners of SMBs run their businesses smoothly so they can thrive in business and in life. So let us get started. We have Sheryl here. Sheryl, how are you? Come on board. Come on board. Look at her. I'm so excited. All right. Sheryl is the CEO of Rise and Shine Consulting and Coaching. And she's also a author. So let me read her bio right here because I don't want to lose any of the magic for you. Sheryl serves as a chief experience officer and works with organizations on creating a customer-centric culture, leadership development, and employee engagement. Sheryl has served many years, 20 years in leadership and coaching and training and mentoring individuals in large corporations. She's a 6-time author, award-winning international speaker, contributing writer for Entrepreneur Magazine and the New Zealand blog Customer Thinks, and is the podcast host of the Customer T. Hey, Terry. So we are really excited to have Sheryl. Sheryl, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Hi, Terry. I am so excited, Kerry-Ann, to be here. This is one of my favorite topics, and we're going to have a blast.
We are going to have a blast. And you guys can tell the background. She's all about hope and joy and work. So, and all of those books behind her are books that she's written. So I'm just really excited to get on this topic. So Sheryl, why are you so passionate about customer engagement anyway?
You know, it's interesting because you hear a lot of talk about the sales process and the sales funnel and the importance of having a pipeline and the importance of making sure that you're always closing, the ABC, always be closing. And there's this element, though. There's this element that when you understand the benefits and the rewards that come from providing not just good customer service, because nobody remembers good, but exceptional. When you provide exceptional customer service, that takes it to the next level.
Yes.
And there are rewards that come from that. And businesses that get it, they win. Those are the businesses that win. And I love talking about it. I train about it. I coach about it. I consult about it because it's a lot to do with what we're going to talk about today. We're going to do a lot of statistics. It's statistically proven.
Yes,
right?
It
Where
is.
You focus.
And we all know the feeling, right? When we've experienced really good customer service and good customer engagement, we know what it feels like. And we are loyal to those brands that do it well. So it's not like we're completely disconnected from it, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. You know, when you talk about loyalty, think about what that does. Now, I want to tell people, right? I want to tell people about my experience because I want them to have the same experience.
Yes.
And that's something that allows me to be able to look at my self-esteem, because it's all about driving behaviors.
Yes,
And now,
exactly.
we go back to school. Maslow says you have to have that self-esteem level. Well, recommendations, referrals helps to heighten my self-esteem. So I'm
Exactly.
fulfilling a need. So we're wired for this
We're
stuff.
wired to refer. We're wired to refer.
Yeah.
I love that, guys. Write that down. We are wired to refer. So, how's the days going to go? Because I know those of you who like Terry and everyone, we have been doing this now for several months. We're almost at, I don't even know now. I think we're definitely past the half-year mark of the Founders Check-In. And we normally have just usually me. I think we've done maybe one or two guests in the past. But what we have decided to do for this year coming up, September through June, is to bring on guests so that we can expand the amount of real hardcore tactics that you can implement into your business. So we are bringing on guests each month, and it's exciting. Sheryl, you are our first for the new year, and so welcome on. So so that's the plan. So I'm going to be spending some time talking about the things that I love, about scaling your business, and why it's important for you to have customer engagement, looking at some statistics and some formulas that you can use to measure your customer lifetime value, the retention, whether they're going to refer, and how does it play into your bottom line. And then we're going to go into Sheryl is going to jump into some hardcore tactics that you can implement into your business today. And then we'll have questions afterwards. But I would like, first of all, one, for you to start putting your questions in there already. Second of all, I'd love so that we can just, you all know Edgar. Edgar's been producing our show the whole time. So once Edgar's ready to pull those questions up, he can. So put your questions in. Also, remember, we love it when you put in the name of your business and what it is that you do, so that other people can see and they can follow you, you can connect, and we can learn more about what your business is. So obviously the Founders Check-In is sponsored by Trafalgar Strategies, which is my business. And we do help companies, small and medium-sized businesses and owners that are trying to build scaling companies. And so here we are right now sponsoring this event because we definitely feel like your Founders Check-In is kind of like a monthly dose of strategy. So before I start into the content of today, we've got a 1.5-minute video for you to watch that talks a bit about, that highlights one of our customers who is doing some crazy good things. She's got her company in 4 countries. She's past the 7-figure numbers. She's well into the millions, and she's just doing some amazing things. So let's watch this video for a bit, and then we'll jump right in.
Aminata Diallo. I'm French, native French, and originally from Mali. I'm the CEO of Affiliate. We're existing since 2011. We started first in Costa Rica, and now we're in Madrid, Brazil, and we're opening in Nigeria. So before working with Trafalgar Strategy, I was feeling not good enough, and I was also feeling that my team was not seeing me as a kind of leader anymore. So I had some kind of past trauma that was giving me some limits, and I needed to break this limit. That's why I approached Kerry-Ann and her team, and this is why they give me tools and strategy to get back the confidence I needed to delegate the power to be able to take decision, and also financial decision, strategy decision. So what surprised me the most when I work with Trafalgar Strategies is actually that I was capable of more that I have been taught during my life. Because having this kind of global vision, you will understand that your business is bigger than what you think. Like Kerry-Ann used to tell me every time, the fish doesn't see the water. That was one of my main understanding of how business works. And I managed to make my company grow up, and I think I'm not finished yet. In French, we said 100% des gagnants ont essayé. It means 100% of people who won is because they have tried, and they have tried beyond the capacity, So if you feel stuck and you want to give up, I think this is the right time to call someone to help you. And this is the right time to call actually Kerry-Ann.
Awesome. So before I get started, if you want to have a conversation with me about your plan, your strategic plan, which could also include your customer engagement process, feel free to, thanks, Terry. Feel free to, Nikolai is in the chat. That looks like me, but it's actually Nikolai. We're putting in the Calendly link. Feel free to schedule a meeting. Also, too, we are going to be adding some links for Sheryl for her to be able to be in contact with her once we are finished with the presentation. So stay in board, check out everything, and let's get started. All right, Sheryl, I'm on board. So why are we even doing this, right? We're here because we want to scale our businesses. That is the whole point of customer engagement, right? We want to scale our businesses. But here's the thing I noticed. A lot of small business owners and medium-sized business owners don't really actually know what's the difference between scaling and growing their businesses. So let's just sort of dive in some basic definitions. Look, growing your business means that you are increasing your revenue at a similar rate as your expenses. So you're bringing in new customers, you're bringing in new revenue, but the expense of your acquisition for your customers and the expense of all the other things is growing at a similar rate as your expenses. So you're growing, but you're not actually scaling. Scaling is when you are bringing in the revenue in your business at a higher rate than your expenses. So what scaling means is you're bringing in more revenue and you're controlling those expenses as best you can so that you could be able to create a gap between your revenue and your expenses. I always think of scaling as scaling a mountain. So here's a great image that I always love to use. So growth is if you're in the valley stage of the process of scaling a mountain. Nobody really likes being in the valley, but I'm like, it's a really important part of building a business. That's where you're building all of your systems, your processes, you're creating your values, your strategic plan, all of those types of things. So in the growth stage, though, you are increasing your revenue, but your expenses are going along the same way. So it's not really scaling. Growth is good. It's an important stage of business development, but you're not scaling. Now, when you start getting to the foot of the mountain is when you begin, I like to call it the inflection point. It's right when you begin pulling away from your expenses, your revenue being pulled away from your expenses. You know, when you're scaling a mountain, you begin to, the altitude is a bit more, the oxygen's a little lighter. And so you begin to have more exertion, you begin to feel more things moving in that way. Then when you start hitting the mountain, that's when you're scaling. You can see where the expenses are staying where they are. They're growing, but not to the extent as they were during the growth and inflection stage. And then you have a good old scale up the mountain, and then you hit your peak, which is your goal. So thinking about this image, let's talk about what it means to really start bringing in customers. The big expense to think about when you are, scaling is when you're bringing in customers, and customer acquisition costs are real, right? It's the cost of acquiring a new customer. It includes all the marketing, the advertising, everything that you're doing. And tracking this metric is really important to help you understand the effectiveness. So if you're not currently tracking your customer acquisition costs, I would recommend you do that. So how do you actually do so? Here's a formula that you can use. So your customer acquisition costs is the cost of the sale plus the cost of marketing divided by the new customers that are acquired. That will get you your customer acquisition costs, okay? Now that we have the customer acquisition cost all together, let's think about this. Acquiring a new customer is 25 times more expensive than retaining a current one. Sheryl, that number always freaks me out. 25 times more expensive than retaining a current one. Okay. So when you start thinking about the cost of acquiring a customer versus retaining one, these numbers are real. Now, so next slide, please. The probability of selling to an existing customer is 60 to 70% more, 60 to 70%. The probability of you want to sell a new product to a customer that already exists is 60 to 70%. For a new prospect, we're looking at 5 to 20%. It's not a really big number, which also is another reason why you want to retain your currently existing customers. The other thing to think about is that 44% of customers, of companies, focus more on customer acquisition than they do retention. Only 18% of companies focus on retention. So when you think about that, after this class, after this founders check-in, and after you hear Sheryl talk about some of the things you can do, you're going to be one of those companies that's focusing on retention as well, because that really is the magic number. Okay. Now that we think about customer acquisition costs and the value of them, let's think about what is the value of a loyal customer. A loyal customer stays longer, they spend more, and they're more likely to promote. They stay longer, spend more likely to promote. So real quick, what does stay longer do and how do you measure that? Well, you measure that by the customer retention rate. This rate is what is a rate or metric in where you're trying to understand in a given period of time, say 30 days, 40 days, 90 days, a year, what amount of customers stay with you. This is also referred to as a churn rate if you're your SaaS industry and so forth. So you might have heard that term. Now, how do you consider customer retention rate as it relates to your industry? Customer retention rates vary by industry. If you're in the hospitality industry, customer retention rates are about 55%. But if you're in the media and professional services industry, it can be as much as 84%. So, but a lot of folks that come to me and listen to this show, they're usually in the consumer services industry. So we're primarily at the 67% rate. So if your business is in the consumer services, you should be trying to get to a 67% customer retention rate. That's the average in consumer services. But if you're in the professional services, it's closer to 84. Okay. Now that we know that, how do we calculate your customer retention rate? Well, here's the formula on the screen. You can screenshot it, but the components you want to be thinking about is E, which is the number of the customers at the end of a particular time period. So you may try to be calculating your customer retention rate based on a 45-day period of time or a 90-day period of time. But whatever that E is, it's the number of customers at the end of that period of time. The N is the number of new customers that you have gained during that period of time. And then S, of course, is the number of customers at the start. So the formula is you use the number of customers that are at the end of that period of time, whatever you decide. You subtract out the new customers because we don't want to consider that. We divide it by the customers at the start. We multiply by 100. That gives you your customer retention rate. Once you have your customer retention rate, you want to try increasing it over time. If you increase your customer retention rate by 5% alone, you will increase your profits by 25 to 95%. So once you figure out what your customer retention rate is, start thinking about trying to increase it. Okay. Now that's staying longer. The second one is spending more. Now, how do you know people are spending more? Repeat customers spend 67% more than new customers. Sheryl, when I found that out a few years ago, I was like, what's going on here? So 67% more than new customers. It's crazy. So the stats are factual, right? You want to keep your customers there. So how do you calculate or understand what customers are spending? What's the value of a particular customer? That's your customer lifetime value. Everyone knows that particular term. I just want to make sure that we all understand it. It's a metric that shows you how much profit a particular customer has generated for you over the course of the relationship that you've had with them. So here's the formula to calculate your customer. By the way, when you calculate your customer lifetime value, you want to have that at least 3 times the cost of your customer acquisition costs. So in the beginning, we talked about how to calculate your customer acquisition costs. Once you calculate your customer lifetime value, you're aiming to get to 3 times that much. Obviously, way more would be fantastic because we're about the scale, but at least 3 times your customer acquisition cost is where you want to be. So here's how you calculate your customer lifetime value rate. And by the way, 42% of companies are unable to calculate the CLV. You are not going to be one of them. Okay, you are not going to be one of them. All righty. So the customer lifetime value is your customer value multiplied by your average customer lifespan. So you guys can screenshot all of these if you'd like. Obviously, I send you the link to the actual show afterwards. But this is a little bit tricky. What is the customer value and what is the average of customer lifespan? Well, the customer value is the average purchase cost and frequency of your customer purchases, as well as the average customer lifespan is the average number of years a customer stays active divided by the number of total customers. So let's break that down a little bit further. Your customer value would be your average purchase value, which is the total revenue over a set time frame, divided by the total number of purchases over the same time frame. Okay. Once you've calculated the average purchase value, you multiply that by the average frequency rate, which is the total number of purchases over a period of time, divided by the total number of customers that are during that same period. Once you have the customer value, you then multiply that by the average customer lifespan. You get that by dividing the average number of years the customer stays active by the total number of customers. I know for those of you that are not mathy people, it's fine. But once you sort of start doing this, it becomes route. Also, there can be, if you're not really into this kind of mathy type stuff, you can always have someone on your team who's responsible for giving you what the customer lifetime value is in your business. But once you have it, you'll be able to know, okay, this is what our CLV is. Okay. And then third, more likely to promote. How do you measure this? Now let's look at the value. Referred customers have a 16% higher lifetime value than any other customer that you have received through any other means in your business. So if I refer Cheryl to my good friend over there, and they're going to now service Cheryl, maybe do her pool or do her window washing, Cheryl is going to spend 16% more than any other customer that particular business is going to bring on. So that's one of the reasons why you want to definitely have a referral process and have loyal customers. Now, how do you see if someone is willing to refer? Well, your customer loyalty, net promoter score is a customer loyalty metric that analyzes the customer sentiment and like how your current customers are inclined to recommend your company to a friend or a colleague. Now, so there's one question that they ask if you're trying to figure out, if you're trying to determine what your net promoter score is in your business. You could just send this question out to all of your customers. On a scale from 1 to 10, how likely are you to recommend that whatever Acme Consulting Services to others? Scale from 1 to 10. Once they answer that, here's the categories of how you want to think about it. Promoters are people who are saying 9 to 10. You must be saying only 9 to 10. I think 8's a good number. No, only 9 to 10 is considered a promoter. A 7 to 8 is passive. So we're not even considering them. And if there are 6 and below, they're considered a detractor. So that's where you need to be, 9 to 10. You want raving fans. Now, once you ask that question and people answer it, then you calculate your net promoter score by the percentage of promoters. You subtract the detractors. That gets you to your net promoter score. Now, how do you determine whether or not it's a good score? Well, I got that answer for you. Anything under 0% is bad. Anything between 0 and 50 is good. But as Cheryl said early on, we just don't want good. We want great. We want top notch. So anywhere from 50 to 70, you start inching people towards 70 to 100. So you want to know that your customers are going to refer you so much that they just can't help but telling people about your business. So this is how you determine your net promoter score. So what are the benefits really of calculating your customer retention rate, your customer lifetime value, and your net promoter score? Well, it impacts your bottom line for sure. It steadies your cash flow. You all, small and medium-sized businesses, a lot of feast or famine happening. If you know that you have strong CRRs, strong CLVs, and strong NPSs, you really will steady your cash flow in a way that you'd be surprised. It also helps you to practice more intelligent customer acquisition. If you are acquiring customers that are low on any of these numbers, but you find another group of customers that are really high on these numbers, you begin to put your money into acquiring those type of customers versus the other type. And of course, you achieve more growth in your business. You get a chance to understand what your customers think, and it allows for you to scale. Okay, so here are some ways you can engage your customers. There's just some ideas that I'm going to put up there that I recommend to my clients. I love the idea of supporting causes that they're interested in. So if you are if you have a business where you have high touch with your customers and you know that they particularly really love, animal rights, you may want to put into your budget, I support this animal shelter for this particular person once a year. It's a great way to keep them excited. You finding ways to be proactive in the way you support your customers, hosting loyal customer events, lots of different ways to do it. But I am not the expert, you all, on how to engage customers. That's why I have Sheryl here. She is going to help you understand how you really can start engaging your customers in a way that makes you have real high CLV numbers, real high CRR numbers, and real high NPS numbers. So Sheryl, bring it on, baby.
Hi. Well, thank you so much. Wow. Right. What amazing information. And I was sitting here, I was taking notes because, sometimes you have to stop and put a pin in some things. So I don't want people to go, oh man, that was really important, but I kind of missed it. So I have just 5 points that I want to retake on just to make sure that they stand out. The first thing was 25% more it cost to acquire new customers than retain existing customers. Now that's something that should make you pause, right? Because when we're in small businesses, medium-sized businesses, you're always looking at, am I spending my money in the right manner? Right? Where is my money going? Where are those money leaks? Where are the things that I no longer need to do so that I can focus on things that are more productive to generating profit? So I think that's something that needs to have a pin stuck in it. So yes, that slide right there, pay attention to that slide there. The second thing that I wrote down is that the average consumer retention rate is 67%. That's a great average. Think about that. To have 67% retention, how much easier is it going to be for your teams when you have a sales team, when they're calling people that they know, when they're calling people that have had the experience? How much easier is it for them to extend the services of these individuals? And now they're buying more, and they're buying at much more frequently. That number is huge, 67%. So I think that's an important number. The other one I wrote down is that 44% of businesses focus on acquisition versus retention. This blows your mind because the statistics prove otherwise. And the statistics show that this is where your focus needs to be.
Yes.
And, I watch a lot of summits. I've attended the Bloomberg Summit, and their focus was on the customer. The entire summit was titled Focus on the Customer. So when we are in these small and medium-sized businesses, and remember, that's just the way the government classifies you. Doesn't mean that you're a small business.
Right.
You're just classified in that manner. And when we think about the things that we can do to improve how we're showing up in our markets, we can look at the Netflixes and the Barclays and the Disneys and these places that are focusing on your customer and saying, well, wait a second, if they're focusing on it and it makes sense for them, why shouldn't I be focusing on it? And so that's a really huge eye opener as to where the focus should be. And then the last piece that leads me right into my section is the customer's lifetime value. What an incredible tool. What an incredible tool. I give statistics because I love looking at the customer's lifetime value, because that right there gives you this awareness of what the potential is. Right? When we're talking about forecasting, what better way to forecast, right, for your stakeholders than to be able to plug in that number.
Yes.
It says this customer has generally been with us for 10 years, 15 years. Here's how much profit we're generating by looking and paying attention to this customer. So that's a huge, huge eye opener.
Yes.
And so I'm excited that you pointed those things out. And I just wanted to make sure that people took a moment and stopped and looked at those pieces right there.
Yeah.
Because that helps you to realize what's really important and what am I missing.
And I love what you said too. It's like, just because, the government classifies as small, medium-sized businesses, that's really just a way to be able to know, what business we're talking about. And there's some particular characteristics that are very similar. But I'm about, the people that come to me, and I'm sure the people that you work with are about like big scale, long time. They want to have legacy. And so if you're not going to pay attention to these types of things, then there's no legacy there. You have to, if you want to grow big, you want to compete with the big dogs, which I think that any small business can. It's really important to pay attention to these things. So go ahead.
Absolutely. And so once you've gotten all of this, because my thing always starts whenever I work with a business, I always like to know where's your thoughts? What's your thought process around how you're interacting with customers, because that's important. And so this takes us to my first slide. I think, is it Egbert? Thank you. As to where does the magic begin? And where does the magic begin for this customer's journey? Well, some might think, well, it begins when they make their selection as to who they would like to be served by, what business they would like to operate with. So I'm going to ask you to go back a little further, because the magic begins when you start to think about how can you add value to your customer's experience so that you can drive the behaviors that will allow you to increase your sales, increase your profits. Those are the rewards, right? Those are the rewards when it comes to customer service. And I wrote something down here, and it says customer service, when done well, has just as much impact as a strong sales funnel. Because when you think about it, what do you have the opportunity to do? Well, I have these individuals that are coming to me that I'm serving in a manner that is so exceptional that they walk away smiling. They want to come back. They're telling other people about us. And now what are they doing? Well, they're bringing us new customers that I didn't even have to market to. And what are those new customers doing? They're spending money that I probably did not even add into my budget. So now I'm increasing my sales by looking at the customers that I already have. And so it brings me to 4 beliefs. When you talk about where does the magic begin, it starts with the first belief of you saying customers are vital to the business, right? Customer retention. Customer retention is vital to the business. That's the first belief that you have to have. Yes. The second belief is that when you create a wow factor, it brings customers to give referrals. When you create a wow factor, something that customers look at, it could be as simple as packaging. And we're going to talk about some of these things. Mm-hmm. It could be packaging. It could be that post-purchase connection. And it could be that initial connection. They went to your website. They had this fabulous experience. Maybe there was some gamification on there. So the wow factor is what leads people to talk about you. And they go, oh my gosh, you have got to come and visit this mechanic or this candle shop because of what they do. And then those referrals, those are the new customers. So if you can imagine 67% retention, right? Those folks are telling people that they know, and now they're bringing you new customers. The fourth belief is that new customers mean more money. That one's real simple, right? That's really simple. So it starts there. And when you start to look at it from that regards, then that's where the magic begins. Now you're ready to create this amazing journey.
Sheryl, can you just go ahead and just say all four of those real quick? I think that everyone needs to write these down. So just give us all four again.
Absolutely. Customer retention is vital to your business.
Mm-hmm.
Creating a wow factor leads to referrals. Referrals lead to new customers. New customers mean more money.
Love it.
Those are the four beliefs that we go into business with. And that's something that is sustaining. That never changes.
Yes.
Right? That never changes. And then we start to really look at things like, you think about individuals. And I think about Jeff Bezos when he was at Amazon. And one of the things he said is that we see our customers as invited guests to the party and we are the host. It's our job every day to make every important aspect of the customer's experience a little bit better.
I love that.
So what is that? What am I saying, right? What does that say? Here's an opportunity to have a competitive advantage, right? What sets you apart in the market? What's your unique proposition? What's your value statement? Or do you have the highest standards in customer service? Do you have the highest in customer responsiveness? What are those things that will set you apart? Because that's where you have the opportunity of utilizing this whole customer service as part of your business strategy to obtain more market share. And so I love talking about this, Kerry-Ann, because it's so much deeper.
Yeah.
When you really, what I've done is I've taken customer service and I've extracted it out of the sales process and gave it legs on its own.
I see. Do you think, because one of the things that because I think this sort of idea of the fundamental beliefs that you talked about earlier, I know that they might, someone might listen to, well, those are very, of course I believe that. But do you believe that, and does it show up in the business?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you've probably seen it where they do lip service
Mm-hmm.
to the concept, but when you start looking at the systems and processes in the business, it actually isn't a strong belief. Have you noticed that?
Absolutely. And that takes us, into another segment. We could, if you can go to the next screen, to the next slide, please, where we literally talk about breaking the script.
Okay.
Right, breaking the script. Now, this is where we elevate. This is where we elevate from providing just the basic service to providing now unexpected, exceptional service. And this is exactly what you were talking about, right? So those beliefs are, we believe those and they seem very simple, but when they don't show up in the business, then you don't get the same rewards.
Yeah.
Right? There's a reciprocity that comes with that. And when you think about breaking the script, we always look at customers' experiences and we say, well, customers have higher expectations today, right? And yes, they do. They want things more personalized. Yes, they do. They want things to be geared towards their wants and their needs. So they want you to have this idea about who they are. And that's done in your marketing, right? Your marketing research tells you who is your right? Who is your avatar? I always like to call them Allie and Alvin. Who are your Allie and Alvins, right? These people that you just get in their heads. And when you speak, it's as if you're speaking to them directly and they have nothing to do but respond.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the opportunity that we have to drive behaviors. And so when I think about breaking the script, there's a couple of things that you can do. Number one is pay attention to details.
Okay.
Right? Pay attention to details. How often do you have conversations, or how often does your team have conversations with customers where you're learning pieces about who they are through the conversation? So you can be on your average sales call and I could say, Kerry-Ann, how's it going today? And now you start to talk. Right? Because I didn't call up and say, hey, Kerry-Ann, I've got this new product that's coming out. I'd love to tell you more about it. I didn't start the conversation out like that. I started the conversation out saying, let's have a human connection. In that process, I can learn more because I'm listening more, and I'm not trying to sell, but I'm listening. Mm-hmm. Now I can pay attention to details, because as I hear you speak about issues that you might have had, I know where I can fit in. Mm-hmm. If I hear you speak about things that are coming up that you're so excited about, oh my gosh, I can't wait. Next week we're going on vacation. I now have something that we can talk about, and I can probably fit something that makes your vacation a little more easier.
Exactly.
So I get to learn when I think about how can I break the script, because by breaking the script, you get on a sales call, that person is selling. Right? We see it on LinkedIn all the time. You say, hello, it's nice to be a connection. They send you a video. They send you a script of, this is what I do. This is how you can connect. You're like, wait a second.
Hold on a minute.
Yeah, find out what my needs are. Maybe we're not even a good fit.
Yes.
And so we get an opportunity, and I like to say it's an opportunity. We get an opportunity to create a memorable experience that has a positive effect, which allows us to drive the behavior. And then what happens? Well, it's been proven. When you give people things that are unexpected, then you trigger positive feelings.
Yes.
Feelings, right? Those are the emotions that allow us to make a decision about what we want to do. So if that decision is to choose, where is my product or service coming from? What am I going to think about? Well, I'm going to think about those people that treated me so nicely. That phone call where he was so interested. I'm going to give them a shot. Mm-hmm. Right? These are what I call easy delighters. Doesn't cost the company anything. Right? It's people taking the initiative. It's companies providing adequate training, right? Getting consulting that allows them to look at this from a different lens, and not that traditional lens of, let's pick up the phone, let's be nice. Right. Because there's so much more involved in this, and it gets you the opportunity of being able to go to customer engagement. And I'll share a story with you. I've worked with a restaurant. Mm-hmm. I worked with a restaurant, and one of the things that they wanted to do was they wanted their staff to be more customer centric. They wanted them to be focused more on the customer and less focused on getting the food out the door.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Right? Because when you have a staff that's in a takeout environment, they're like, hey, let's get these orders out. Let's get these people moving. Let's get the next one in. Mm-hmm. But the owner, he and I had a conversation. He said, I want to do something different. After listening to you, we have an opportunity here to create some sort of an experience for our customers that they want to come back, but they also have the opportunity of being able to, go to our app and use our app and be able to receive promotions and discounts. And we want to be able to drive them there.
Yes.
Because they've seen it happen at places like Wawa and other places where you go in and you utilize the app. When you get something, what did they do? They drove a behavior, because now you're using the app.
Yes.
So that's what they did. And so we sat down and, as a team, we talked about it, and we talked about things that will cost the company and things that were really easy for them to do. And here's something that they came up with, and it seems as simple as pie, but oh my gosh, it made a difference. One of them remembered when she was younger, her parents used to put a note in her lunch bag. And when she got to lunch and she poured her lunch out, it said something like, you are amazing. Today is an amazing day. You are an incredible individual. And she said, it made me smile, to whereas I forgot some of the things that happened earlier that morning that might not have went my way. Mm-hmm. And so she got a chance to finish the day in a positive set. So they decided, well, we can do this. So they started creating these slips that they would tack on to the takeout containers. And so the customers would get their takeout containers in the bag. They had, the first day they did this, they had 3 individuals call up from the car because they were snacking in the car, saw this and said, thank you.
That is fantastic.
Said, oh my gosh, you don't know how much this was meant for me.
Thank you. That's all that, yeah.
And, and they said, and the last thing they said is, I'll be back.
I'll be back.
Yeah. Isn't that what we want people to say?
That's what we want people to say. I spend my time between Madrid and in the States, and when I'm in Madrid, there's a restaurant that I always order breakfast from. They have really great eggs Benedict, and I go there often. But truth be told, I order more than I actually go into the establishment. Well, they know me in the establishment, and well, first of all, I guess I was ordering a bit too much. So when I walked in there, and I was like, they're like, you order from them, whatever. I'm like, yes, it's me. But whenever I order, and I think they do this for everyone, but definitely makes me feel as if it's only for me. They always just say, thank you, Kerry-Ann. Have a great day. So excited to see you the next time you come into and they put a little cute little smiley face. And whenever I see it, I'm like, oh, they remember me. They probably don't. But it makes me feel good. It makes me feel I'm a part of the family. And when I'm enjoying my eggs Benedict, I'm like, okay.
Exactly. And here you are sharing the story.
Yes.
Right. And that's what, that's that wow factor.
Yes.
And so, in addition to paying attention to details, stop for a moment and think about what's the wow factor that you can create. Right? What's the thing that you can create that kind of sets you apart? I like to say it gives you that unicorn.
Yeah.
Gives you the unicorn look.
Yes.
And that's the mascot for my academy is a unicorn. Because I want people to stand out in your market. Because believe it or not, there's 37.1 million small businesses in the U.S. So what sets you apart?
Yeah.
There are other people in your industry. So what makes you different?
Yeah.
So when you have the opportunity to think about what's the wow factor, and maybe, you don't have a lot of money to spend. Maybe you do, and that's great. But if you don't, then think about how can you utilize your people? And how can you utilize your automation to create a wow factor? Just when someone places an order and purchases a product, that email that they get back after they made that purchase, that could be your wow factor.
Yes.
Right? Thank you so much for this purchase. Oh my gosh, this is going to put you into a giveaway, or you're now one of our VIPs, something right along those lines. So what's that opportunity that you have for a wow factor?
I don't know if you saw that video that was circulating around social media a few weeks back. It was this, I think the restaurant's based out of Atlanta, Georgia, called the Sugar Loaf or Sugar something. And when someone has a birthday, okay, and they bring the desserts look fantastic. But when they bring the dessert, everyone comes over, you go to, everyone's been to a restaurant like happy birthday, blah, 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 blah. Well, these employees are like dancing like they are like Beyonce's dancers. They do a whole 1-minute dance show for you. And like they are going 150%, 1,000% into the energy of that dance. So when you see the video, you're like, I want to go to that restaurant because I want some. And I'm going to lie and say it's my birthday just so somebody can dance for me. But I mean, but the way that people feel when it's their birthday, I'm sure they get so many repeat customers.
Absolutely. And probably ones where they go, well, your birthday was just last week.
Yeah. Like, it's my birthday, please, for the dance.
Exactly.
And what I noticed is that those people, those employees, they don't have to be like, there's always a person who's extra. All of them are extra. Like they don't have to go. I mean, they are doing it way and beyond. I'm sure they need to, but they're just loving what they do. They love their jobs clearly. And therefore it shows.
And what makes that so special is we always look at employee engagement, right? Yes. What better way to engage your employees and allow them to have fun with customers? Yes. And they're laughing and they're not so stringent about, okay, we got to sing happy birthday again. Right? But oh my gosh, we get to sing happy birthday. They're going to smile. Who knows? It might even enhance their tips. Yes. Right? Because again, driving behaviors. Yes. People like entertainment. One of the things that I always say that really is like the umbrella of this portion that we're talking about now is make the sale memorable. Right? Make the sale memorable. And SALE is an acronym. And it stands for simple, be accountable, be loyal, and create an experience.
Love it. Say that one more time so Edgar can put it up on the screen.
Make the sale memorable, simple, accountable, loyal, and an experience.
Fantastic.
There you go.
Fantastic.
That's what people want. So this is, it's not that hard of a concept when companies think about taking their culture, right, and becoming more customer centric.
Mm-hmm.
That yes, is it going to take some change? Absolutely. Is it going to be an overhaul? No, because you should already have some of these things in place.
Mm-hmm.
They just need to be refined.
So a part of it is looking at the details, and then figuring how you can add the wow factor to some of the simple things that you do in your current business. So maybe you don't have an exciting like restaurant business, people can sing happy birthday and do the Beyonce, dance routine. But, there are other ways that you can add those kinds of details and add those kinds of wow factors, even within just everyday interactions, even if you're an accountant, correct?
Absolutely. There's a quick story that I tell, and it's about Lego, and we all know about the Lego company.
Yes.
And so Lego, this family loved putting together these Star Wars replicas is what they did. They put together Star Wars replicas. And so they went to Target, purchased this set, cost $350. Mm-hmm. It's got a 400-page manual. It's got 3,000 pieces. Wow. So you have to be a Star Wars fanatic.
Yes. Yes.
So they get the set home. They start putting it together. They get 3/4 of the way through, and they're missing a bag of pieces. And so now they have to reach out to the company because they can't take it back to the store. So they reach out and they explain to the company, we're missing a bag of pieces from our Most Ingsley Cantina. Mm-hmm. The representative sent an email. Here's what the email said. Thank you, John, for letting us know that you were missing bag number 14 from your Most Ingsley Cantina. That must be the work of Lord Vader. Fear not, for we have hired Han to get these pieces right out to you. Have a bricktastic day, and may the force be with you.
Oh my, wow.
4 sentences.
And they're complete fans now.
Yes.
They're rating fans.
Where did I get that story? It was from Yelp.
Oh, wow.
So now they've put this on Yelp, and you can probably believe, absolutely, they're going to come back, get more. The kids are probably going to be loyal customers.
Loyal fans. There you go. Yes.
Right. So this is the power.
Yes.
That happens when you change how you think about customer service, and it no longer becomes a 5-minute training in the midst of a sales call training, but it stands out by itself because of the rewards that come with it.
Yes. Oh, I love that story. And
so I love to tell that story because people think you have to do so much.
Mm-hmm. No. Yeah. It really, what I'm sensing, so a lot of my work I do is doing strategic planning and helping companies do vision and values and all of those types of things. And I think this comes from a fundamental, you said it early, the 4 beliefs that you talked about. It really have to be meshed into the ethos of the business. And that comes from the top.
Exactly.
Everyone here is a founder, an owner of a business. And I know what it's like, all the things you have to be paying attention to in your business. But here it is something that you can, and I'm even thinking about how are ways that we now can engage our customers in a more wow factor. Because the reality is, once you kind of permeate that into the ethos, into the genetics, the DNA of a company, then people take that on and they can go run buck wild with it. And you no longer have to kind of sit down in the conference room and say, okay, here are the ways that we're going to do this. People are like, this is how we do it here. Oh, I can go crazy. I can come up with crazy new emails to respond to people, or I can find crazy new ways to delight. And I think that's really wonderful.
Absolutely. And then it gives people that sense of empowerment.
Yes.
And it gives people that sense of empowerment where they're not always saying things like, I don't know, let me check, I'll try, because this also helps when it comes to problem solving.
Yes.
Right? When we have issues with customers, Do you want someone on the phone that's creative, that feels empowered, that's operating through the company's core values of our customers come first? Because it comes down to those core values, and that's what you're referring to, right? When you live it, it's in your core values. And when everybody understands what those values are, people can operate within those realms.
Yes. It gives them permission to go beyond just, I just work here.
Exactly. Exactly. Now, I'm a part of this company, this organization. Yes. And then it takes us to the next slide. If you'll go to the next slide, when we're now talking about this wow factor, gives you the opportunity to now enhance your customers' engagement. Right now, you can enhance how you engage with your customers, because here's something that I wrote down. 68% of consumers say that they will pay more for products and services when they have great customer service. So this level of customer service is now extending after the purchase. And now you're doing this post-purchase engagement that's keeping your customers involved, letting them know that I still see you. Right. And so what are some ways that you can do that? And I want to be respectful of the founder's time here that we allotted for this. So for this portion here, I can touch base on, what are some of the things that will allow you to engage with customers, sometimes even before they realize what they need. Yes. In other words, if you have a product or service and you can look at what is the season, what's the season that's coming up? How does my product or service fit in to this upcoming season? Because now I can send something out to my customers and say, oh my gosh, I've got this new scented candle that's coming out for Christmas. It's October, but get your specials in now. When I know where I fit in the seasons, and when I know what other things that are relevant to my customers' behaviors. Yes. Right. Yeah. What are my customers' behaviors? Do they have pets? Well, if they have pets, when is flea season? Right. Let me get them an alert earlier on that, and let me provide some content pieces of information. Yeah. So you're continuously finding ways to connect without only selling. Right. Right. Without us sending more coupons and saying, click this QR code. Right. Send something that's going to engage me to whereas I want to look at your stuff. Yeah. But, we sometimes we try to push, right? We push products and we push services. And then what does it do? Well, it makes people standoffish. Right. Because people like to buy. They just like to be sold to. Exactly. Right? But they'll buy. They'll buy. Everyone loves to buy. Exactly. And so, you can do things like know your customer's name. You want to engage with your customers, learn who they are, learn their voices when you hear them on the phone. Once you've had a piece of the conversation, that conversation prior should come back to you. You go, oh, I know who I'm talking about. Yeah, that's right. We're talking about this. We talked about this before. How's that going? Right. So know your customer's name. The other thing is there's a national holiday for everything. Yes. You can get one of those calendars that says today is donut day, today is chocolate cheesecake day, something that gives you a reason to reach out in a fun, jovial way or in an informational way. Yes. So those are some things that you can do. Some other things that I wrote down here is personalized newsletters. Right? Let us get a newsletter that has my first name on it. You can pick the field. It says, how would you like this sent? First name. Instead of it just saying hello or it being just a blank space with a comma. Right. So let's double check our stuff. That's paying attention to details. Yes. Right. Takes us back there. And let's make these engagements to whereas, again, we drive behavior. Every interaction that we have should be to drive the behavior. And what's the behavior? That they come back, that they tell other people. That is so important, Sheryl, because you've said this a couple times in this session is the idea driving behavior. So whether or not, we could spend another 5 hours just giving tactics on how to engage customers. But I think that the key that I'm hearing from you is
think about what's the wow factor, think about the details, and then how you're gonna, because you know your customers more than I know them or more Sheryl knows them, and how can you then drive behavior with that action that you're saying. So if I can learn about the details, learn about what they're thinking, how can I wow it up to then drive the behavior? That's what I'm hearing, Sheryl. Was that what I'm hearing?
Absolutely. That's it. And then it takes you to the very last slide, because once you've done that, you now have brand ambassadors. You now have people that are going to go out. And I like to use the term evangelists, because they go out and they spread the good news.
Yes, they do. Look, I'm a pastor's kid, so I know about that.
There you go. Right. And they want everybody to know, oh my gosh, I had the best massage ever. Yes. Oh my gosh, I went to get my car detailed, and they also washed the car. You know, people want to have something to talk about.
Yes.
Right. So now you have these brand ambassadors that are not only loyal, and it says here 86%, for 86%, good customer service turns one-time clients into long-term brand champions.
Love it.
And that's what you want. You want brand champions. How much easier is it for a phone call to come and someone says, hey, I heard someone speak about your business and I want to learn more about it. Oh my gosh, yes.
Yes. Have you been following that the rise, the astronomical rise of Pinky Cole's slutty vegan restaurants across the country?
I have not.
It is just like, I guess she might have started it maybe a couple, 3-4 years ago. They are everywhere, and people stand in line for the openings. They just opened a one in Spelman. I mean, she was just interviewed by Fortune magazine, and just really, I know I have heard the food is just really delicious, but what people love most is because, and everybody I know is like, have you been to Slutty Vegan yet? No, there's not one yet. But what people are loving about it is because the vibe. People go in the store and it's a vibe. I mean, even the name Slutty Vegan has its own vibe, right? And when people walk in, the employees it's a vibe. And she just recently posted, I follow her on LinkedIn as well as Instagram, and she just posted this great video of all of her employees that have been working with the company for the past over 3 years. And they're just jiving. And I'm like, you know what? I want to work there. They look like
exactly.
Yes.
Because you know what's so interesting about that, Kerry-Ann, is the question that you also have to ask yourself is, are your employees, are your team members referring your business to their friends, families, and colleagues?
Exactly.
Right? Because that's important. If you have people working for you and they're not telling people about you,
that's a sign.
Right? Exactly.
It's a sign.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you want brand ambassadors, whether they are internal or external, because they will add to the sustainability, right? Yeah. Now we're talking about sustainability, and then this here leading to that scaling opportunity. This is a part of that scaling strategy. So that takes care of, what I wanted to talk about is to say, if what you repeated, Kerry-Ann, is absolutely right? We look at how we reframe. Let us reframe the manner in which we look at the business from a philosophical view.
Right.
And realize that when we do that, and the strategies that we can implement can then reap the rewards financially.
Yes.
For the business. And it also feels good to the customers because they're coming to a place where they're getting something that, is so amazing and incredible that they can't wait to come back.
Yeah. And I think, when you think about it, Sheryl, particularly as small and medium-sized businesses, we have the luxury of being able to give way more service than the big dogs. And I really believe in competing. Like, I don't know. I mean, maybe I just have a little bit of competitive, but I'm like, I love to sort of kick an incumbent large company off when the clients get the business and it's a large company that once had it. I mean, I love when my clients can do that, because in the end, I personally really do believe in the value of what our small and medium-sized companies can do in
Absolutely.
this space. And so, but we have the luxury where we have a bit more agility, a bit more versatility to be able to do some things that maybe some of the larger companies can't. So I think and also we're more in touch with our clients and our customers than the larger companies. So this is really an opportunity where you can win. You can have a competitive advantage way more than your larger competitors. And I think that is what makes this exciting too. It's something we can actually do, and it is attainable. So, and the way you've talked about it, Sheryl, really helps me kind of think even a bit about how we're doing customer service and customer engagement in our company as well. So thank you so much. This has been so fantastic. Now, if there are some questions that you have for Sheryl, here's a good time to pull them up. I think I'm going to give you some time to write them if you haven't. But one question I will ask Sheryl is, how does one really create like a strategy, sort of without it just being, tactical, like, instead of just making, we do this one-off thing, we do birthday songs, or we do this one-off thing, we send great emails. But how does one create a strategy around the engagement?
So it starts out with what that customer's journey looks like. And that's a common term, right? We've always heard about the customer's journey. Oftentimes, and I've worked with entrepreneurs that have not even taken the time to sit and map out what that journey looks like.
Yes.
Right. And the one thing that I always share with individuals is, if you're not sure, because sometimes, and it's funny because I'll have a CEO or a business leader say, well, this is the way it's supposed to go. And I say, well, just because you said that word, supposed to,
it means
that there's an opportunity that it's not going that way, which means now we have some defects, some bottlenecks, maybe some constraints, areas that might be causing friction, that's causing frustration, that's going to add to your churn rate.
Yeah.
And so, it's that ability to really start to think about, what does that journey look like? And sometimes you need to take the experience yourself, right? Get on your own website. Find out, can I find information easily? Does this link actually work?
Good.
How many times have we someone sent us a link and we get there and it says that error 404? Like, did they check the link before they sent it?
Yes.
Right. So,
that's like so
basic. And yet it happens all the time.
Yeah.
Right? So stop and pay attention. Is it easy for them to get information? Am I being sent link after link, video after video? Can I now get back to the place where I was, or am I in this rabbit hole of clicks?
Yes.
Right? Yes. Make it easy and simple.
Yeah.
Because when it's simple, people can do it quickly. And right now, right, we want everything quick. We want it simple. We want it with a touch.
We sure do.
And so if it's too many steps, it's too complicated.
Right. Okay. So one of the things, if you're thinking about doing a strategy, sort of first kind of think about doing the customer journey yourself. Now, if you don't have a customer journey, start creating that. And that's one of the things that I have walked. There's a couple, I think one of the founders check-ins we did in the spring talks about how to create your sales and marketing process. And in that, it's about creating your customer journey. So if you haven't done that, go ahead and check some of our things. It's on the website. But I think just sort of creating your customer journey is what I'm hearing, Sheryl, and then put yourself through the customer journey on each thing to see how people are experiencing it. Fantastic. We had a question from Jack, who's listening to us on YouTube. Jack says, when is the best time to measure customer engagement? Good question.
The best time to measure it is every 90 days. So here's the reality. There is a entrepreneurial operating system. And one of the things that it teaches, and I often utilize this as part of my blueprint when I work with businesses, is that we have a 90-day focus.
Yes.
Right. Some people call it a 12-week year. Right. Whatever the terminology you use for it, is that we have a 90-day focus. And every 90 days, we have the ability to refocus. We have to revisit. We have to remind people, right, of what the goal is, what the objective is. Because sometimes what happens is we do this once a year and expect everybody to remember for the remaining 11 months.
At the offsite.
Exactly, right, what we're focused on.
Yeah.
So, Jack, the answer to your question is every 90 days, have something in place where you extract your customers' engagement process. If you send out surveys, that's the time when you get those survey results. And here's the thing about surveys, and you mentioned this earlier about the NPS scores and the question that you want to ask. They've done studies. Harvard has done major studies about lengths of surveys, right? And oftentimes, you get those surveys where you got that ticker at the top and you're like, oh my gosh, how many more questions, right? So your surveys don't have to be that long. What they said was you only need 3 questions. How did we do? What can we do better? And will you refer us? Those are the only 3 questions. Is that easier to extract the data? Absolutely. Then if you ask 15 questions, now somebody has to get the data. They got to compile it into a report.
Yes.
They got to give it to the person. You ask those 3 questions, it's far easier to get that information out to the teams so that the teams have information when they're communicating with customers and resolving issues.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Simple. Keep it simple. Keep it simple. And one question I always that I'll ask you too, Sheryl, is, well, I don't know if there's other folks that are coming in. I gotta just go ahead and push them in if they are. I know that you can use customer engagement to create social impact and positive change. How have you seen that in your businesses their clients that you've worked with?
I've got clients that they actually took a survey and they had charities, organizations that they wanted to support. And they sent the survey out to their customers and said, you are a part of this, right? Which inevitably they are.
Yeah.
Because when they spend money, some of that is going to go to these organizations. And so they said, let us know who you would like to support, right? We're voting.
Yeah.
And so they gave the community in which they serve an opportunity to have a say.
I love it.
So now, what are some of the needs of customers? Well, they want some level of control in their interaction, right? They want some level of control. What better control to be able to say, I support business ABC and they support breast cancer,
right?
Which is something I believe in. So now my support has now enlarged my presence, and I'm not just an individual buying. I'm now creating positive impact in the world.
And the good thing about that, Sheryl, is one of the things that I recommend to clients is that, in your marketing budget, this is something you can do as a small and medium-sized company. In your marketing budget, you could say, okay, because we are spending millions of dollars on marketing in the small medium-sized business space. As a matter of fact, the next founders check-in that we're going to be doing is about how to create a marketing strategy that really is powerful and actually does have the kind of ROI we're looking for. But what you can do is say you have a marketing budget of, say, $5,000 you're putting into your company each year, or even if it's lower, whatever, maybe you can put in about 10% of your marketing budget is going towards making donations to causes of your customers that are really vital to them or important to them. Why? And again, this does not have to be just for big companies. Small and medium-sized companies can do this as well. Why? Because people then feel, and particularly nowadays, people want to know that companies are connected to the things that are important to them. And that can just be, and then of course there's a write-off too, in terms of how much, you can write that off on your taxes. Of course, I'm not giving any, tax advice, but the point here is this is something that you can do. And I'm telling you, if I was able to say, hey, look, I really am, it's important for me, for children whose parents have been killed because of whatever, or I'm a big thing of pets, or whatever the thing is that you're causing, and someone's giving donations to those causes, it does make a difference. You may think it might not, but it does make a difference.
Absolutely. And if you're, when you're a company, if you're not giving back that social responsibility element that we all have to fulfill. Right now, you're just taking from the community.
Right.
And there might be, I like companies that sponsor local.
Yes.
Right, that little small chapter of a nonprofit that might need $500, and they could take a group of students to a job shadowing event, something like that, where you can really see the community and giving back to the community that's coming into your stores, or the community that's coming through your website.
Yes.
And so I always look local. I love the major organizations, right? But let's not forget those little, the little ones that are doing with the 10 kids, or, they've got the senior citizens that they're, going out and delivering food to, or something along those lines. $500 can go, it's like $10,000 to them.
It really can. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. It's absolutely right. And I think too, when you're looking at social engagement, you want to give to causes that are aligned to what it is that you sell as well, or what your service is. So, you kind of remember, like, Dove is always giving to causes that are, supporting women, women's health, women's beauty, women's sense of well-being. So you think about what's your brand and being able to give to those as well. I said, Sheryl, you and I could talk about this all day long. I love this topic so much, and your expertise is just so valued here. We so thank you for all this time.
Thank you.
Do we have any more questions, Edgar, that we want to pull up? Because if we don't, then so if you have gotten a great deal of value from this, because I know that you have, Sheryl has more. Oh my goodness. She is giving you Sheryl's Saucy customer service tips. And I'm just really excited about this. I'm getting ready to download it myself. Nikolai is going to put the link in the chat, as well as we will also send it to you guys who are registered. You'll get it via email, and here you can screenshot it as well and go and download these customer service tips. Follow Sheryl on LinkedIn. She's also on Instagram. Let's go ahead and move the thing so you can see her handles. But follow her, because she's just giving really great tips on how to be just a customer engagement juggernaut as a company. So we want you to be that, because it's a differentiating factor. But remember what we talked about earlier, it is also a significant way to scale your business. And so if that is all, I would like to say next month we are going to be, our founders check-in will be on how to develop. Oh, thanks, Sheryl. We appreciate it so much. Thank you. So next month's my founders check-in is going to be on how to create a strong and profitable marketing strategy. I'm going to have Mikey Anderson in here. Girlfriend is also a premier person in the world of marketing. She has fantastic instincts on how to develop strong marketing strategies. And so looking forward, it's going to be the first Thursday of every month, October 5th at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Again, if you would like to schedule something with me, the Calendly link is floating around there that Nikolai's put in there. If you'd like to find out more about some of the past episodes we've had on the Founders Check-In, you can visit our website. Nikolai's going to put that link in the chat. Edgar's going to put it on the screen. You can check out the other episodes that we've done over the past several months, and you can also find out what we're doing in the future. As in the meantime, why don't you go ahead and register for next month? The link is in the chat as well. Register now. Don't waste. You need marketing help. Come on now. So go ahead and register now. But until next time, let us just put some hands together for Sheryl.
Thank you all.
And thank you guys for taking the time to be here and, just working on your business as opposed to working in your business. I know it's hard to do that. So have a fantastic week. Have a fantastic September. Let's scale. Let's build companies that are going to last. Until next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.